Well, hello, and welcome to Opal City Confidential, a Starman podcast, and we're heading out west and back in time. So I'm joined here with Kirby because we are going to be talking Jonah Hex. Say hi,
Thank,
Kirby.
Hi, Russ. Thank you for bringing me on to talk Jonah Hex, who's without a doubt one of my top five favorite DC Comics characters.
Yeah, my brother's like that. He loves them. So I've read a lot of it. I have not read any of this, and these two issues is making me. Folks, what we're covering is I discovered when I first started doing the Starman Opal City is that there was another Starman that was created after the Robinson Harris Sundberg series, and Robinson would have worked this in.
Oh,
Yeah. So someone would have gone back in time. One of the Starmen would have gone back in time and met him. It would have happened, or there'd been a times past with him, and have him meet Scalp Hunter, Brian Savage. That'd been fine. It would have worked great. But we get two of. I only thought there was one, and then when I mentioned to Kirby, let's do this, he was like, "Yeah." There, and you reminded me there were two. Are there three? Is there a third one?
no, there is only these two. These two issues comprise all of the Victor Sono Starman appearances. That's it.
That's a waste. I think someone needs to bring him back because he's a good character. I didn't realize he was going to be this good. So, but we're going to talk about the issues real quick. But I also asked. This almost was an Opal City Media Club episode because I also asked Kirby to pick a western that he knew Jack would have wanted, and I would pick one. And we're gonna talk about those two movies after we've talked about these two comics. So Kirby, you're the Jonah Hex expert because you've read. Do you have a complete run of his original series?
Okay, so I'm working on that still. Without checking, I've probably got about 24 issues of the Michael Fleischer run to go. And then I have a complete run of the Palmiotti and Gray, and I have one of the three miniseries that they did in the early 90s where he was going up against like vampires and stuff, which is not as much to my liking because I actually really do prefer Hex when he's in a more, quote unquote, realistic Western.
Yeah,
More than anything.
Yeah, these were very much like modern westerns. These comics, and I grew up in a western movie. My brother liked western movies, so and as Huey always did, it was an indoctrination. So he made sure I had watched certain ones like Ford. I'm a big fan of the Cavalry trilogy. She Wore a Yellow Ribbon.
Yep.
And Fort Apache, I think, are amazing. The third one, I'm not a big fan of. It's not as near as good. And I don't remember what it's called. It's got I think it's got Mitchum in it. It's Michael Holt. It's got Holden and Wayne, and it's just like it's too much. There's too much manliness or whatever, too much toxic masculinity on the screen, and stuff like that. And Peck and Paw, and oh my God, Sturgis, because one of my movies is a Sturgis movie.
Mm-hmm.
Anything about Wyatt Earp, and my movie's about Wyatt Earp. I do like this. I'm a fan of the Wyatt Earp movies, most of them, and everybody's portrayal of him. Yeah, I even like Lancaster's version. The Lancaster's version is kind of he talks like Lancaster. I don't see Doc talking like Burt Lancaster, but I still like his. But so yeah, I haven't read anything. So what got you into Jonah Hex?
Okay, so sure is like I grew up in a big Eastwood household, and that's basically what Jonah Hex was created to capitalize on was, well, yeah, let's just do a Clint Eastwood comic book in the 70s, and they brought it back. So the first place I remember encountering him was in the JLU episode, The Once and Future Thing, Part 1. Because
really?
I had
that's your first thing with okay.
Yeah, because I forgot or missed the episode of Batman the Animated Series that starred him. And so when I started getting into comics around 2006, 2007, like trying to read regularly, I'm like, oh, I remember this guy. Oh, he's Clint Eastwood, basically. And my first issue was Jonah Hex, number 7, One Wedding and 50 Funerals. And just from that point on, even when I didn't have regular access to comics, I would always try and get the Jonah Hex. Like in college, when I did finally have regular access, Jonah Hex, Secret Six. Those were everything else could go, but I'm keeping these two on.
I wish I'd been reading this Jonah Hex series because it's really good. I know they're putting out. I think maybe the Weird Western run is coming out in an Omni, or one of the two. New 52 and whatever another. Which ones? This is pre 52, right?
This is pre New 52, and one thing that I think really helps this series is there's like one or two or three parters, one 6-part, and all the rest are done in ones. And for being in the aughts into the early teens in comics, that's basically unheard of.
I was going to ask you that question because these are two both very Palmiotti and Gray. I've read some Palmiotti. I mean, I read Palmiotti's Power Girl and stuff like that, and I like him. I like what he does with his wife, but I'd never read any of this stuff, and I wish I had been because I felt like I was watching if someone was actually making a good Western television series. Because I'm old enough to remember when Gunsmoke was on, and it's terrible. And I go back and watch like 60s and 70s Westerns, and I was like, thank God for the Italians, because I think they saved the genre in a lot of ways. And I'm a big Tubi guy now because I'm in a mode where I'm randomly watching old black and white movies, and I watch all the Sherlock Holmes. I've jumped in and out at some Charlie Chans to see how overtly racist are. They're just cheap, but he's always the smartest person in the room, so I don't feel they're really that racist, except it's a white guy playing them, which is really racist.
Right.
But they're very respectful of that. They're trying to play it straight, but you're a white guy, you're an English dude doing, it's weird. But also been doing some Westerns, and like when you made your recommendation, I watched it on Tubi, and the next one on was another movie starring a star, and it was like I tried to watch Doc starring Stacy Keach and Faye Dunaway as Katie Elder and Doc Holliday, and it's trying to be art housey and realistic, and it's just really racist. But the people are racist. They're very really factual that the white people are overtly racist. So they say racist shit constantly. I don't think it's because they're trying to say racism, because the Mexican said something about white people in Spanish and there were no subtitles. So, and they're really swearing hard. And it's like a early 70s art house kind of Western. So they're realizing that they can show tits and cuss. So they're doing it at every opportunity. And I think Faye Dunaway's very young. She's very young.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't look like she ends up looking like they're good in it. I mean, it's Stacy Keach and Faye Dunaway, but it's just But it's like I got 20 minutes in and went, oh God, how did these people fuck each other? Because they make them really dirty. In modern westerns, it's realistic. Like you live outdoors, you're riding in the range, you're gonna be dirty.
You're gonna be covered in dirt.
Yeah, but this one was like, dude, if you've been wallowing in pig shit, because he had like and then they have sex, and you're like, So
there's an infection going on somewhere.
It's David Mitchell, the English comedian. Someone asked him, "Would you like to go back in time?" And he goes, "No, sepsis." I was like, no antibiotics and sepsis. I was like, "Yeah, he's got a point."
My thing is, like, if I was a companion on Doctor Who, I'm like, my one requirement for the doctors: make sure if I'm ever trapped back in time, my dentist and my barber are two separate people.
Yes, and he's not an alcoholic and a degenerate gambler, because he may gamble. It was weird. I watched it for about 20 minutes last night, and I had a buzz on, and I'm on vacation, and I was up way too late, so I was kind of like going, is this meant to be this bad? When I turned on my TV, I went back to it, and I went, oh no, this is terrible. I turned it off. But then I had to reread these two comics, and I was very grateful. So, folks, we're covering, issues 26 and 54?
27 and 54.
Good. I was having a problem remembering the numbers when I was looking for them. I finally saved them to my Starman file folder in my in the app, so I could have easy access to them. But I read
so these are in the app. Good.
Oh, no, yeah. See, the shit that's not in the app, you go, what the fuck? But all of the Jonah Hex series, I'd have to look. Maybe the Flesher one is spotty. Anything?
Oh, I bet it.
It can't be as bad as the Legion.
And I will say the 70 issues of Jonah Hex, like top tier, when it flipped to New 52 and became All-Star Western, even though Palmiotti and Gray were still writing, is a big nosedive because it essentially turns into a Batman book.
I'm gonna have to see how bad that is.
It gets bad, and what the big issue is, towards the end, Booster Gold shows up. Booster Gold should not show up in a Jonah Hex book.
Is it worse
Jonah
than
Hex can show up in a Booster Gold book, that's fine. Booster Gold, it breaks the reality completely, and then he time travels, and Palmiotti and Jimmy Palmiotti has yelled at me specifically online. It's like, look, Jonah Hex does not deserve a happy ending. I love this character. His proper fate is to be shot in the back and then stuffed into a Roy Rogers costume at a traveling carnival. Yeah, that's his proper fate.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Did you collect Hex? Are you going to collect the science fiction series Hex?
Got some of those, and it's like, I like Mad Max, I do, but it's like,
does it need to be Jonah Hex?
Does it need to be Jonah Hex? And you get some weird Giffen art. It's full like Jose Muno. It doesn't bug me as much there as it does when he does it in Legion.
Me and Brett were talking about, folks, I've recorded an episode with Brett from Legion of Substitute podcast. We're going to talk Silver Age Sunboy. We talked about his death in the retro boot, and I was like, I kind of liked Sunboy dying because he sets up putts, and I don't mind someone dying. In Legion, they die and they stay dead, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we also talked about 5 years later and how the shark in the section where it starts jumping sharks repeated, like Lightning Lad was never brought back to light. It was like, ew, that's fucking disgusting.
I don't know, Ross. If you can get to 5 years later and you want me to talk about those, you're gonna need to start paying me.
No. I don't know. God, I will be dead by the time I get to that at the speed I'm going. I thought about just kind of jumping around now because I've never read the retro boot in its entirety, and I jumped around in it, and I'd like to read it because I know Levitz, and I said this in folks, you'll listen to it later, but Brett and me were talking, and I think Levitz. I know Levitz can do amazing stuff because he proved it with his Doc Fate. Mm-hmm. Doc Fate is it's so much. I understand why it didn't do well. It's just, it should have been a Vertigo or Breck label or a side book, but that character is so good. They didn't undo it. He's Fate still.
Yeah, in Jeff Lemire's JSA, he is the incumbent Dr. Fate.
And because he's a good character. He's so fleshed out, and that book is just magical. And I have his Unfinished Business, which is a graphic novel about life and death, a priest and a rabbi, and I think an imam, and it's all in this kind of weird afterlife, and it's drawn by Simon Fraser, who created Dante Inferno. He's the artist on Dante Inferno. He was the 11th Doctor, artist of the 11th Doctor series when Titan had it. And that he did the Starman Jack and Ted commission for me. I have that picture. I've shown it online, folks, but he did a sketch of Ted and Jack standing back to back, and I've got some Doctor Who portraits. He also did the last volume of the Kingsman with Mark Millar. That was like so. But he's really, I think he should be doing more because his Doctor Who was amazing. He was one of the artists when Al Ewing was writing it, and it was a great.
I tried to look up Simon Fraser, and all I got was pictures of Anthony LaPagia from the show Frasier. So
no. I think he spells it different. Yeah, but
clearly.
But he's a really good artist, and that's just he did some good work. But let's get back. I forgot where that tangent came from. So let's move on to do the first issue, which is Jonah Hex 27. It was cover dated March 2008. It has a great Jordy Burnett.
Yeah, I think Jordy Burnett is how you pronounce it. I could be dead wrong.
Okay, yeah. I like it. It's a great cover. The art, they do the interior, and it's amazing. it's so. I mean, I was surprised it was because I grew up with the Flesher, and I'm not never was the Tony DeZing art is okay. It's just not my cup of tea. Um, it's a little heavy, but that is when I think Jonah Hex, that's who I think. And I
Yeah.
think that these artists are going, that's who they're thinking about. It's very true to that. But it's a really nice cover. It's just basically him facing down all these guns. And this is such a nice, simple story in some ways, but it's also complicated.
Yeah.
It's got a very Rashomon moment in the middle.
It does.
Guy that did the Scottish director who did The Gentleman and stuff like that. I'm blanking on his.
It's gonna drive me nuts. I'll think of it later.
Yeah, but he married Madonna, which is sorry, buddy. And he did the Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey
Jr.
Yeah.
Oh God, this is gonna drive me nuts.
I know. Well, remember, I felt like he could have directed this episode because of the way or Tarantino. It was very much you see the same actions from different points of view, and it's done so fucking well.
Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, Guy Ritchie. I love The Gentleman. The Gentleman, the movie, was fucking genius, and I was very disappointed that Hugh Grant did not get nominated for every award and win it for his performance as the gay Cockney dirty PI. It was so. I mean, it was like wow. It's a great movie. It's also a very good movie. But I feel like this cover. I think this looks more like an old '70s cover than a not modern cover.
Yeah, no. Again, Burnett, he knows exactly what book he's drawing here, especially because we have Hex in a more urban environment, and I think this is also to help with the colorist who Rob Schwager. He makes sure these are all very muted tones. It's not a bright and colorful book.
No, it's very much like a modern Western or like a 70s Western where everything's everything's dirty. There's nothing's painted, other than white or blue or light colors, or not at all. It's just dirty aged wood. This is New York. He's in New York, isn't he?
Yeah, this is New York. Like I think they say at one point, like a week after the war has ended.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically the issue opens up with this giant flash as you see a very vague silhouette, and it's getting in Jonah Hex's eyes, who has been tied up, and the guy is saying, yes, I know who you are, and more important, I know what you did all those years ago, as we then flash back to who our titular Starman's origin story, as he and his father are arriving in New York in 1865.
Yeah, it's so cool. I was like, it's very much like the gangs in New York. Basically, they've langed in the gangs of New York because that takes place during the war.
Yeah.
So, or right before the war, and the whole immigrant's life. I knew something bad was going to happen because it's a Jonah Hex comic, and this is the flashback, so there's going to be death and destruction. There's going to be death. But this, you don't see Jonah for
probably 10 pages for a couple, like half the issue.
Book. Half this book is about this kid and his dad. And when the dad leaves, I honestly reading it the first time, and they're going to meet his uncle. They're going to meet the guy's brother. The dad has a peg leg, which I didn't catch until later. Because it's so important. I went, fuck, did he? Oh, he did have a peg leg. Okay. So this and the son have arrived. They get a hotel, and the dad goes looking for work and leaves the kid. In the final panel on that third page is the kid sitting alone. And I went, oh, fuck, this isn't good.
No,
it's not good. And the dad goes and gets in line, and because he's got a peg leg and he's Italian, the people they're hiring muscle. They're not hiring lawmen. They say they're hiring peacekeepers, which means union busters. Thugs. These are Pinkertons, who are the absolute scum of the earth. And Dad gets gunned down. One, they shoot his leg out from under him.
His peg leg, yeah.
His peg leg. And then the priest is like, he's going, he's like, don't shoot me, I have kids. And he says to the priest, this is an Italian talking to a Catholic priest, Father, you sit there and condone this. I am unarmed. He goes, This ain't Italy, and we ain't got all day. Set an example for the rest of the men here, and kill the cripple and post him outside. He ain't much use to no one. And next thing is, it's the next day, and Dad hasn't shown up.
Yep.
He asks the landlord where he could be, and he finds this. This is fucked up that the guy's hanging off a state of that's St. Francis. It looks like.
I'll take your word for that. It's like I knew it was like a saint of some sort.
If he's dressed like that kind of monk, it's normally St. Francis because they wear the brown robes.
Okay.
Other priests don't wear robes. The Jesuits got a little bling because they're the lawyers. And Franciscans are supposed to be very poor.
Gotcha.
So, but it's really fucked up. And one of the guys that was in there, a drunk, tells him what happened. And yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just really want to draw attention just on the page where we reveal his father bloodied and hanging from the St. Francis. It's just how much variety there is. Burnett gives to even like the ancillary characters where it's not all just uniform comic book. You got different body builds and dress and all of that.
Oh yeah, it's kind of patchwork. You see the poor people, the stuff's a little more mix and match, and the rich people all have high top hats and black coats. And they use the bowler. I was do this trivia thing every day, and I realized before the cowboy hat, what was the most common hat worn by cowboys, and it was the bowler. And I guess right because I see him in the movies all the time, and these guys have bowlers. Because this would be, a lot of them have what we would consider a bowler hat. And the kid's just got a regular cap. But the kid, he's enraged. He walks past somebody, grabs a gun, walks into the room, and kills everybody behind the table except for the sheriff. And then he gets knocked unconscious. And then we cut, it's a jump, and we don't know when it is. I'm reading it, is thinking this is happening simultaneously, but it's a flashback.
Yep.
And we get that now we see Jonah proper for the first time.
Right. So we're so even though it's 1865, like right after the war, because I think they say it's somewhere in there. He's still like collecting a bounty. He's off to get a drink, and then it's revealed, it's his revolver that the kid stole to shoot up everyone.
Yeah, and then we get to see it's like a peck and paw. It really reminds me of the scene at the end of Unforgiven, which has got one of my favorite moments in any Western because everybody's so unlikable. And like the kid, when the kid in Unforgiven goes, I killed a man. I took everything he ever would be and everything wouldn't be. And he goes, but at least he deserved. But did he deserve it? And Money's response is, we all deserve it. I'm like, fuck. And then when he's going to kill Little Bill, he goes, I've killed about everything that walks on God's earth, and now I'm going to kill you, Little Bill. And he fucking does. He goes, you shouldn't have killed that guy. He shouldn't have put my dead friend in his window. It's such a good movie. But this is really like, this could be an Eastwood movie. This whole conversation goes, Jonah comes in and goes, hey, I'm just getting my gun back. I don't have any fucking problem with you people. I don't know what's going on in here. And then the sheriff kind of tells him. Jonah walks out and imagines what they're going to do to him. I love this. Instead of having a word balloon, you have word balloons with pictures.
And actually, this is Jonah thinking back to his own childhood as he's getting beaten up by his abusive father.
Oh, is that him? See, I don't know that part of his origin. I thought he was thinking ahead for the kid, but he's remembering his shit.
Yeah, so let me Jonah Hex nerd out because I so very rarely get to his Woodson Hex, abusive alcoholic father. His mother, or Jonah's mother, left him for a traveling salesman. Woodson then sold Hex to be a slave to the Apache, where Hex would be a slave for years until he saved the chieftain's life, in which he then became a member of the tribe to the great dislike of the rest of the tribe, before he eventually returned to Missouri, in which he joined the Confederacy for a litany of very great morally complicated reasons that Fleischer and Palmiotti and Gray do a great job of I can't remember what's text and what's not text of like why he joined and then why he eventually left. But I could just talk Jonah Hex for hours.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to read some of this stuff because this is so good because I misinterpreted that, but it's powerful. So
it's like Jonah's a bastard, but it's like because the sheriff explicitly says like they're gonna beat the crap out of this kid and then kill him. So Jonah, after thinking, just walks back and just shoots the rest of these guys dead without even thinking twice. He then takes the child to an orphanage and says like, hey, like, you know, this kid doesn't have any family, and look, no note, and the bump he got on his no note, and the bump he got all on his own. I best be moving on. Thank you again, sisters.
I like it. I like that when he goes and kills everybody in the room, it's just one page.
Yep.
And he's just bam, 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 and they're all falling. It's great. And then we cut to after he walks out, we see, and it's kind of like he's got a superpower. It's like the kid is now a grown up. We kind of know what's going on, and there's something glittering, and it's blinding his eyes, and he's wearing all these very polished sheriff stars badges. And it's hidden under his coat. He hides it under his coat, and you find out why. That he kills crooked cops.
Yep.
And he leaves Jonah tied up. He is a bastard.
But he says, like, look, I know you will be able to free yourself. I tied your horse up. I left your guns and all your bullets like a couple hours away. I'm heading in the other direction because, like, because there is a bounty on me and you're going to turn me in. So I'm going to give you $800. And Jonah's response is, I have to warn you, I'm not the only one hunting you down. Oh, and you're 200 short. And as Victor Sono rides away, Hex, all he can kind of do is just kind of laugh at the situation.
And then we jump to the future, and there's Hex, silent pages. This is working really well. I mean, it's just the storytelling the artist is putting out is just amazing. And these three Native Americans have caught Victor, and Victor's tied up and gagged, and this crooked sheriff shows up and he's going to skin him. And I don't know if Sona when the gag is taken back so they can hear him because they want to hear him scream.
Mm-hmm.
He yells, "Hey, get me out of this, and I'll swear you can walk into custody." And the sheriff's like, "What?" It's like Hex is like, "Fuck, he's talking to me," and the guy knows basically.
Yeah, like Hex was probably going to take care of this in a much more like quick and efficient manner, but it's like, okay, now I've got to improvise, blam, 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 and then one of them runs. Yeah, one of the Native Americans I think gets away before Sono finds him and catches him.
It's the sheriff. It's the sheriff.
It is the sheriff. That makes more sense.
Yeah. And then he ties Victor, and Victor goes, "He ran off. Untie me." And Hex goes, "You're welcome." And the kid goes, "Be right back." And then he runs into the woods. You see a panel of the woods, and you see the same panel with a big water balloon. And him come out. And he goes, he's covered in blood. He goes, "As promised, you can take me in."
And he's true to his word, but as Hex goes, still don't understand why we had to go all the way to Yuma when we were closer to Sterling.
Because he's going to turn tables on him and put Hex in jail.
And then it turns out, for Victor Sono, when he's talking to the sheriff, it's like the fair trial you gave Mrs. Michael's husband and children when you murdered them all in cold blood in front of their mother. So I was like, oh, Sono has kind of tricked Hex to get him to the next sheriff he's going to kill.
Yeah, Hex is in jail, and then this woman comes up with some money. It's the $200 that he's owed for the bounty, and he looks across the street, and the sheriff's hanging there. It's a great comic, folks. It is really. If you have, I think it's been in a trade. I don't know, but it's on the app. I don't read Western comics, and I'm going to probably read this run. I may read a bunch of it this week while I'm on vacation because it's that good. It's like really blew my mind how good these issues were. I mean, just blew my mind.
Yeah. No. This was a great, even with all of this is probably one of the more time jumpy issues, because a lot of them are a lot more linear, and there aren't usually, there are not a lot of flashbacks and flash forwards and all of that. So, but this is still, like, you could see this as like an awesome 75, 80-minute Western.
Oh, yeah. It has everything it needs. And you could have had, music and shots, because the good thing about a Western is a good soundtrack on a Western is needed. Because they're alone in the outdoors and it should be quiet. And you want a spaghetti Western theme or a Jerry Goldsmith theme or Enrico
Morricone.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
And that's what I hear when I'm reading Jonah Hex is,
Yeah. So he next appears, Victor next appears in Jonah Hex 54.
Mm-hmm. Because this series jumps around jumps all throughout Jonah's timeline throughout various different points. And from memory, largely does kind of follow the Fleischer timeline, except after New 52, but we won't talk about that.
All right. So this is Jonah Hex number 54, cover by Jorge Burnett and Rob Swalger, who is the colorist. And it's Victor and Hex coming out of some saloon doors, firing their pistols, both of them. Both the men and each of them with two pistols. It's a very Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid kind of shot.
It really is. And again, like, this was the only real Western you were getting around 08. Actually, this is 2010, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same creative team, and this is great. It starts with, this time we don't get the title card, which I'm going to use the letterbox image, because that first panel in the other issue, because it says Starman with a badge.
Yep.
Which could have been his series, but you see Hex, the art's great again. It's like European westerns. It's so fucking pretty. But Hugs Hex, my fucking idiot dog, my idiot dog is in the cage because she's acting like a fool. Hex is drinking. He's drinking the bottle, and these three guys he's been chasing shoot the bottle, and it pisses him off. He chases.
So one of them, basically, even though he doesn't get hit by Hex directly, like, all the rocks and stuff are gouging his eyes. He falls off the cliff, and
he gets. I forgot about this. He gets bit in the crotch by the snake.
By a rat. Yep. In which case, Hex just drags him.
Jesus Christ.
I'm actually surprised that they pull back and you don't see a puddle of blood on the big splash page there.
Oh yeah, it's insane. Well, he also drags him for miles. It's like, dude, you're not gonna have much of a body left. It's just gonna be basically dragged it through the brush and shit.
There's enough to identify him as one of the robbers, and Hex says, like, look, I got one of them, and there's the gold they stole, so pay me my money.
Yeah, I like that. Oh wait, he makes his point by putting the gun under the. He calls the guy by his. Everybody calls this dude by his position, or the one of them, the banker. They just go bank, yeah, banker. So they're spitting. They do not like. I don't like. I don't disagree with them. Don't trust them. But it's great, and then he goes to the bar, and he meets. Is this character a reoccurring character, Chula?
Yes, Chula and her brother had appeared before. I was trying to do some. I couldn't. I did reread this whole series like last year, but it's been a year. So, but she had appeared before, and she mentions that her brother had run off with Tula Black, who was also a recurring character that Paul Miotti and Gray created for this series. So
okay, I like her, and I like that they end up getting drunk as shit. I didn't realize he would get drunk.
Oh, he gets drunk all the time.
I mean, he was, everybody had post-traumatic stress in the West.
Yeah. Also, with the heavy scarring he has, you gotta imagine part of that's to also fight off the infections he's got to be getting.
Ugh. But I like that they're drunk, and GK goes, "Do you have a white horse with a star in its head?" Yeah. Well, someone's stealing it. And he gets on a donkey, drunk as shit.
Whoever owns that ass outside, $10 to lend her to me. What? I was only going to charge you $5. So we got one mule for Jonah Hex.
Oh, yeah. And it's very much like a European comic part moment in the comics, because he gets bucked off. and he's knocked he passes out. He's so drunk he passes out, and someone rides up to him and leaves a blanket on him and takes the donkey back. I love their use of blue for the sky and stuff, and the coloring is amazing. The colorist is Rob Schwagler.
And
they do a great job.
Yep. So Hex has been caught up by the other two bandits that were shooting at him earlier. He eventually has a shootout, and when Sono comes back, one of them is just so like and Hex just with barely looking just shoots him again just to shut him up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The guy's making a lot of noise and he shoots him. And Victor's there. And so I'm a little confused. They ride back into town. Well, Hex rides back in town with the two dead guys.
Mm-hmm.
And is that the banker hanging from the rope?
No, it's the corrupt sheriff.
Okay.
Yeah, there is one issue. There was one problem with this issue that I will get to later on. But yeah, so we're seeing the hung sheriff, and we're then I take this guy's like either like he's a corrupt marshal or something like that. Or...
Yeah. Yeah, and they're the four sheriffs that were around earlier. So they arrest Hex. What are they arresting him for?
Because they think Hex is the one who killed. Because he doesn't have an alibi.
Oh, okay.
The last night when Kane was killed.
Oh yeah, and he's like asked the Mexican whore, and he's like, they don't shy away from some of the.
No, they really don't. Like, there are certain words that the characters will be saying that they don't, which thankfully they don't recreate. But yeah, they don't really pull away from the racism where it shows up.
Oh well, because it would have been rampant.
Yeah.
And these corrupt sheriffs all they're going to kill the banker, and Chula and Victor are hanging out in the bar.
And again, Burnett just does a good job of just giving everyone just such different like body types and all of that. Like he makes Chula very attractive, but everyone else looks grody as crap.
Yeah. Chula. So what is the guy? Oh, the guy comes in and goes, "Them lawmen from out of town done caught Sheriff Kane's killer. He goes by the name Jonah Hex. Looks like we get a hanging tonight." And then Victor's in the bar goes, "Damn, didn't expect that to happen. Chula, looks like we got a change of plans. I need you to do me a favor." And the next page, the four sheriffs and the marshal, all the bad guys, sitting on the porch, lounging. And Chula rides by on Hex's horse and asks them to stomp it. And they're all glad to help her get off the horse while Victor hands Hex some pistols. And
what is like Hex is now like, yeah, you're the one who killed it, and I'm having to deal with this. And after he goes, it's like, we ain't begun to be even.
Yeah. And Chula's still flirting with him. Hex gets out. He shoots the guys to come and take him to the hangman.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't shoot him. He just bashes him in the face.
Yeah, he pistol whips him.
Breaks his mouth.
Good.
Yeah. And then he walks out and he shoots all the bad guys around Chula without hitting her. And then at the bank, everybody here, all the other sheriffs hear it, and they run out and they get caught they run into Victor, and Victor kills them. And the last person standing is the main bad guy, I guess.
Yeah, Dunn.
Dunn.
And what makes this particular is they mentioned that the sheriff that Sono killed earlier was his brother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
So Dunn has, I don't know if it might be the banker. I can't remember.
It is the banker. He's got the banker, and he's holding him hot. He's got him by the neck with his gun, and I don't understand that shot, but he basically, he's taller than Hex, so Hex shoots him, and the bullet goes into his head, right between his eyebrows, and out the top of his head, maybe 4 inches further up. So it just basically takes out the frontal lobe. He might have lived, but he'd have been he wouldn't have been able to do much except kind of sit around and go, yeah. But Oh yeah.
So
This Victor gets shot too. Wait, forget that because I'm looking at the next page and he's.
yeah, yeah. So this is the one issue is where there is like an exposition dump of like what has led up to the events that we've all seen, where the Sheriff Kane was corrupt, and his brother-in-law Dunn, who Hex just killed. He's basically been running a protection racket throughout all these different towns and da 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 da. So that is the one kind of downside is we get all of this after the fact.
Yeah, you could have sprinkled that in a little bit through the end. I mean, throughout, like when they were on the road or something.
Yeah.
But Chula really thinks Vector's gonna take her with her or stay, which isn't what happens. They both him and Hex ride off. I love Chula. It looks like I don't know if Burnett is doing an homage to a specific kind of character style in European comics, or he's trying to do an homage to Amanda Connor.
I think it's more the former, and it would not surprise me if that Chula is specifically based on like an Italian actress from like the 70s.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, but she does have that kind of that cartoony style that Amanda Palmer uses. Not Amanda Palmer,
Yeah.
Amanda Connor uses, which I love. I love her art.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely. But I don't think it's him so much doing. I think it is just more he is a Spanish artist. And heavily, as you said, heavily influenced by like European westerns.
Yeah, so they're great comics, folks. They're really good. They're so good that I'll probably get after we do this. But overall, I think he belongs. I think this Starman needs some fleshing out. I think someone needs to go back and do it and tie it into the other Starman mythos. I would be very happy with it. Or just do a time travel story with whoever, if they ever create a new Starman.
Yeah. Because, like I said earlier, these are the only two appearances. And there's part of me that would have liked if he could have come back one more time. But the other hand, it's like, no, he is a fully fleshed out character. He has these two appearances. And kind of that's all you need. More would be fun, but not necessary.
Yeah, unless you did one where it's later in the life and he's a marshal now. He's an old marshal in some established town somewhere. And no one knows he's killed all those other ones except for Hex.
Yeah.
Or the carnival comes by in the body. That would be a great, how he ends up being that mummified character.
Mm-hmm.
Is have a backup feature in a Jonah Hex comic of him running into famous people or something while the carnival's in town. But I liked it. And I cannot. I just really love the art so much. It is. That's the best part of it, I think, in some ways.
And Burnett was like the closest this series had to a regular artist because he did about 25% of this run. And he would, especially towards the end, he was doing every other issue.
Well, it's amazing. I'm gonna Google him later and kind of see what else he's done or they've done because it's amazing. It's really. I like that. I want to say kind of sketchier. I don't know if that's the right word. But there are people that person's not the same, but it's a similar kind of thing that triggers my liking of it is, guy that drew the Power Man Thunderbolts, Kev Walker, I think's his name. But it's a very sketchy style. He also did some Exiles. He pops up every now and then, and I always like his work, and I'm blanking on it. Well, it's right up above me. Hold on. Well, I'm thinking about it, but I love the art, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and one thing that I always like, and this is something I did pay attention to when I was rereading the whole series, is Burnett does one of the better renditions of Jonah Hex's scarring, because there are some artists in this series who would basically just do the tiniest crescent moon shape of the scar, and it's like, no, Hex's face needs to look disturbing and grody.
Yeah, it's great. You're very right. You're very right on that. It has to be disgusting. The artist I'm thinking is Kev Walker. Yeah, he started in 2000 AD. Oh, no wonder he's so good. He did Nova for Annihilation, which is beautiful. He drew Thunderbolts during this era. He did Avengers Arena, which was a great miniseries. It was a follow-up of The Academy. Dr. Aphra, he did do some Doctor Strange, and he did some Predator. He's an artist I like a lot because he's got a very kind of sketchy, cartoony kind of style, and I love it. I love it, and I love Jordy Burnett so much. It's just I will be googling the hell out of it.
I think he's done some like European like film, not film noir, but noir detective stories. So which fun. I think fits his style very well.
Oh yeah, because this is very Western noir in a way. I mean, so they're not that different. So the other part of the exercise for this one is for me and Kirby to both think of a Western that Jack would like.
Mm-hmm.
And that our difference in ages, I think, affected it. And your dad being about my age, he's a little older than me.
Like a couple months, yeah.
Yeah. So, you grew up in an Eastwood. Yeah, I watched all the Eastwood, but you picked a 70s Western. And I picked a late 60s Western. And I like some of those, Hondo and this one. But this is definitely, mine is rooted in other stuff. But we're going to start with yours. What was your Western?
Ooh, well, I kind of gave you two, so I'm not sure. And I rewatched both of them. So
okay. Well, Red Sun is the one I focused.
Red Sun. Okay, let's go with Red Sun.
What was your second one? What was your second one?
High Plains Drifter, which again, straight up Eastwood Western. But I think I picked it for. I'll make a quick one for High Plains Drifter. It's one of Eastwood's weirder ones. It's almost a horror movie, honestly.
This is not the one that's. Which one's the one that is the remake of Yojimbo?
$2 more? Fistful of Dollars.
Fistful of Dollars. Okay.
Yeah.
So High Plains Drifter's. Oh yeah, he's been hung and he lives, and then he starts hunting everybody down.
Well, he actually might even be a ghost. For like, it is that ambiguous, and he just kind of comes in and gets revenge on this town, more or less. And you actually have a really good performance by Billy Curtis, who was a little person, or I don't know what the proper term.
Oh yeah, because he takes. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I was thinking of a different one. No, he's in the town. Yeah, and he paints everything
red like hell.
Yeah.
And it is Eastwood actually does do a good job to differentiate this character from the man with no name, because he is far more bloodthirsty, and he does sexually assault a woman in the first event. So it's like this is even bleaker than all of the Sergio Leone movies.
Yeah,
so
it is. It's just, but it's not is it a spaghetti western, or is it an American western done in the spaghetti style?
I think it's an American. It's Eastwood's Okay, so here's a little trivia. It's Eastwood's second directorial debut. And it's the foundation of, I think, the Directors Guild rule, now called the Eastwood rule, where Eastwood got the original director fired, and then he took over, and they went, no, that's not happening again. So this is where you will get stuff like Battlefield Earth, where there was a different director, but it was really John Travolta calling the shots. So it's like, you got that.
Oh, I got you. Because his film debut is like, I was talking to my wife about it, is this is a guy who was a TV star, became famous because of spaghetti westerns. Mm-hmm. But his directorial debut is a love story.
Play Misty for me.
Play Misty, which is a murder. Jessica Walters is this woman who keeps calling to have him play the song and then stalks him. And his leading lady is an African American, and it's in the early 70s. And it was basically Eastwood people. I will bet he got in arguments and said, "No, this is who I want.
Yeah,
I'm a jazz DJ. The character's a jazz DJ. This isn't. And fuck your racism."
Right.
It's a great movie. It's an incredibly. I mean, Eastwood is. I think people took a long time to really realize that he is probably one of the top directors of his generation.
Yeah.
Because his westerns are great, but his non-westerns, he has well-earned accolades, and he did about everything. I think his letters from Iwo Jima. I don't like his. He did two movies about Iwo Jima. One about the raising of the flag, which I don't really like that movie. It's a depressing story. You don't really need to keep telling it. It's just fucking awful. We treated our vets like shit. One of the people who raised the flag was a Native American. He died. He drowned in a puddle. He got drunk, passed out, and drowned in a puddle. And it's a really depressing story, and it's awful. I did like the movie, which was basically an American soldier and a Japanese soldier's letters to home during the Battle of Iwo Jima. And it's a a fucking amazing movie, and it really lets you know how bad Marines had it in the Second World War because it was just awful. But his westerns are great. That's a good one to pick. That's a good one. That was one that was on late. It could only be played at late night when I was like on Channel 20 in DC because, because of the it had a disclaimer, adult things, and I think the rape is cut out. I don't think I saw the rape until I saw it on Turner Classics or something, or on a cable after hours. Well, I picked. Let's talk about the one I Red Sun, which I had actually started to watch about 2 weeks ago. That was your other one. Explain Red Sun to everybody because it's weird, but it works.
Okay, so the short version of Red Sun is, what if we got one of the Magnificent Seven and one of the Seven Samurai in the same movie together?
Yes.
I mean, that's what the movie was sold on. Like, the only other way, if it was Eastwood, where it's the Man with No Name, Andy Jimbo together, but... So the Man with No Sun, or Red Sun, is one of the Japanese ambassadors to the U.S., because this is not that long after Japan has finally started to open up to more of the world.
Yeah, after Admiral Perry, the U.S. fleet came in Tokyo Harbor and said, "You're going to start trading, or we're just going to take over."
Yeah.
So.
So they are on a train to the west, to have to give a katana to the as a gift. Part of it that gets stolen, and then Mifune and Charles Bronson have to team up to retrieve it. And
Bronson's one of the thieves, but his partner, who is basically, he's wearing Robert Vaughn's costume from the Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
It's like, was Robert Vaughn not available? Was he doing Man from U.N.C.L.E.? It was very weird because I kept thinking about that. Why do all the bad guys wear that same costume? But I'm a big Charles Bronson fan. I do not like the Death Wish movies. I really don't like his movies when he's older because he gets in this, I'm playing Charles Bronson playing whatever.
Yeah.
But he's interesting in this. He's really good in Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yep.
And the boxing movie made with James Colburn, which is very good.
Not coming to me.
Yeah, but it's a good movie. But it's neat because it's basically a cowboy and a samurai going across on a journey to find this guy and kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And fucking Bronson and it's Ursula Andress, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is Ursula Andress. It's got some big stars in it. But she ends up part of she's his old partner's girlfriend, and it's just a great western. The whore, the cowboy, and the samurai. It's very. I really liked it.
Yeah,
I thought it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yes, it's got a weird structure to it because there are kind of 4 acts, but on the whole, it works.
Yeah. It's Mifune though. Is he just speaking phonetically? I don't know if he ever learned English.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm not sure of because, like, there's always the thing where Lucas wanted him to play Obi-Wan, and I'm like, I don't know if by like 1971 or 1970 when did this one come out? 1971, yeah, Red Sun came out in 71. I don't know if he knew if he was how fluent he was.
Well, I don't think, because he is in 1941, the Spielberg comedy, and it's him, and he plays a Japanese U-boat commander, Japanese submarine commander, and there's a Nazi officer played by Christopher Reeve on it, and they do a double act basically in the submarine. They're the comedic action in the submarine. I'm like going, who thought Christopher Lee. Like, how would Christopher Lee? There's no ways that someone that tall would fit in a fucking submarine.
Ooh.
No, that'd be because those things, especially in the 40s. But it's a very bad comedy with a lot of moving parts, and one of the moving parts is a submarine off the coast, and that it's Christopher Lee and Toshiro Mifune. And I don't think he knew how to speak English. I'm really thinking he learned stuff phonetically. He knew what he was saying, so he knew enough to make the inflection right. But it's because I was, it's like people see him and he did so much, all this different stuff. And, you know, I hate to say, I think I've seen more of his samurai movies than I've seen other stuff, but I enjoyed it. And I watched it on Tubi, and right after it was Chato's Land, which is, he plays an Indian who says maybe 5 things the whole movie. He plays a half-breed. He kills the sheriff, and then the people in the town. The whole movie's about a posse tracking him down. And it's really Oxbow incident, but it's racist. They're racist. They're all racist. And the guy leading the posse he's a former Confederate officer who after the war has gone west just to get away from all that. And, you know, everybody's friends. It's not north-south or whatever. It's just they're all in it. They're immigrants. There's an Irish immigrant who's friendly with the Mexican natives of the area. But, you know, they're all racist. And then but it's got Ralph White, who played the dad on the Waltons. It's got Jack Palance as the Confederate general. It's got James Whitmore Sr.
Right.
Was it Sr.? It might have been Jr. You would know them both, and it would be hard. It's hard to tell them apart but it's like, did this dude make movies for 100 years? No, he made movies for 50, and then the other one made movie 50, and they look a lot alike. And it was really good. And basically, there's a lot of raping, and there's a lot of murdering. But it's really not that much about the main character and more about this posse falling apart, because the farther they go, the more and more of them go, what we're doing is fucking wrong. Let's just leave. He's killing us, and the ones he's killing fucking deserve it. And then there are these three brothers who are really the worst, and they die the worst. But it's basically, you know, us versus them, and it's a really good movie. And then the next one started, and I was like, oh my god, I cannot watch another 70s western. It was also late at night. So I picked one, and it was because I started to watch it. It was my movie was Hour of the Gun. It is the second version of the Gunfight at OK Corral story that John Sturges directed. He did the Burt Lancaster, Kirk Douglas version, which is very good. I think it's probably a little bit better than this, but it's more about the gunfight and the atmosphere. But this was closer. Sturges wanted to be closer to the truth. And at the beginning, he is closer to the truth. By the end of the movie, he is very far away from the truth again.
Yeah.
Everybody does it because Ike Clanton is not killed he dies separately years later. But basically there are no heroes in this story. It was a range war. It was a gang war. The Earps controlled the town, and Clantons controlled the cattlemen around it, and it was the town versus cattlemen, which was a common thing that happened out in the West. Who's going to be in charge? And basically the Earps were just more efficient at revenge. I really liked Hour of a Gun. One, it's Wyatt. You have to cast the best. Wyatt and Doc have to be cast the best. The rest of the other people, you can make mistakes. But it is James Garner as Wyatt and Jason Robards as Doc. And they're great. And the movie's about their friendship. I think it was a lot longer and drier than I thought.
Okay, but you get that sometimes.
But I don't mind it because it was really about their friendship, and Wyatt lies to everybody to get his way because it's just about revenge. And when you get to it, Doc calling him on it, because Wyatt plays himself as, I'm very honorable, I do everything by the law, and I have to blah, blah, blah. But we all know Wyatt Earp's story enough that he does hunt down the people that harmed his family and fucking kills them all. Because the Earps were, that was just the way it was back then. I'm a big fan of the Wyatt Earp starring Kevin Costner, especially the long version of it, because they really...
Oh, that Tombstone?
No, his version.
No, you said Costner's. Never mind.
Costner's. But it's more historically accurate, and you see the first 45 minutes to an hour is him before he's a lawman and how he's this goofy kid, and his wife dies very young. Like, they're not even married 6 months, and she dies with their baby of typhus. She hasn't given birth. She dies. and then he becomes an alcoholic, and he's going to be hung for being a horse thief, and his father breaks him out of jail, and he goes out west and he's sober, and that's why in all the movies about when they show him drinking, that is very inaccurate. Wyatt Earp did not drink. He was an alcoholic, and he knew it. But it's very dry. But I liked it. It's very. I find movies of this era sometimes are very clinical. They're trying to be realistic, but they're also just trying to shoot stuff fast and easy outside, and it works. And Sturges is a great director, and both versions are good. I really liked it. I love James Garner.
Yeah.
I love James Garner. He's very good at Wyatt. But there are a lot of throwaway characters. Robert Ryan as Ike, he's great. John Voight, very young John Voight.
Wow, baby Voight.
Baby Voight. And it's not even his first movie. I think he's in a couple other westerns before this. I wouldn't be surprised because he's got a big speaking part. Because he's Curly Bill Brocious. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he's Brocious. But because it's funny, William Wyndham plays one of the famous cowboys that was in Ike's posse. These are both real people, and he's got this great He's a drunken gambler, and he's a bad one, but he's the captain of the Constellation from Doomsday Machine.
Oh, is that guy?
Yeah, that's William Wyndham. Yeah, he's a big TV. See, I know the fuck he is. He was also he was the sheriff in Jessica Drew's Town in Murder, She Wrote.
Okay.
He played a very, very homophobic gay character in the first John McClane movie in the 60s, starring Frank Sinatra.
Oh yeah, I know the detective. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
It starts with him killing this gay guy, and you're like, whoa, this is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
But William Wyndham is really good, and the other guy's really good. I forget who plays them. You get some TV and the guy that plays the other sheriff ends up doing Disney movies. He's one of those clean cut guys. It's a good movie. I think it's very about trying to tell the story from their point of view. They're both wrong, and both sides are corrupt. Doc's the only one who really calls people out on shit.
Right.
But I liked it. Did you seen this one?
No, I still haven't. You said it's on Tubi. I might have to check it out after we're done recording.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I would watch the one with Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas is a lot flashier, and it's really good. And there's a highlight. Morgan is played by DeForest Kelley.
Ooh, right. We should have talked about Spectre of the Gun.
Yeah, that is, folks. If you want to hear a great, Spectre of the Gun is one of the most underrated Star Trek episodes ever made. I think it's very good. As a set designer, I like all the choices that nothing's real because they're not in the real place, and they know from the beginning they are not in a real place. It's a fake place that is dangerous. But Nathan Bottomley and Joe Ford on Untitled Star Trek projects launched it, and I rewatched it after because they like it. And they appreciate all the artistic things. They're weird shit, and they know what it is, but made me go back. It is a good one. And it's not a bad version of... I've seen worse versions of...
Oh, yeah.
There's some bad ones. They pop up, and I'll check them out. And like the last 4 or 5 made in the last decade, I'm like, well, these are made like with a video camera and 4 people. They're terrible. The best Doc Holliday version I've seen in a long time is in Wynonna Earp, which is a good horror TV show that's based on a comic book about this mystical gun, and she's the last descendant of the Earps, which is bullshit because the Earps had a big family in California. Wyatt died, and he became Wyatt eventually becomes a technical advisor to John Ford at the end of the silent era. He worked in Hollywood. Tom Mix and him were friends.
I think I remember
James
that.
Garner did a movie with Bruce Willis where Bruce Willis plays Tom Mix, the silent movie star, and James Garner plays Wyatt, and they team up to fight crime. They team up on a murder mystery in silent era Hollywood.
Sorry, folks.
It's very weird, and seeing Bruce Willis dressed up in silent movie cowboy garb is very uncomfortable. It looks fairly weird. But
I'm gonna have to look that one up.
yeah. So, but they're good movies, and I think Jack would watch both. I think Jack would watch the samurai western, and and hopefully one day Tony Harris and James Robinson will tell the samurai Jack and the samurai story. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I don't know. But I think he would have been a fan of Sturgis. Sturgis is my brother is movie nuts like Sturgis. He did a lot of great movies in the 30s and 40s, and his westerns. He was like Ford. Like, I'm just gonna shoot. You need to know your fucking lines, and you be ready. Because we're doing this fast and quick, and it's James Garner is really good in it.
Oh yeah. Well, how often has James Garner been bad?
He's been in bad movies, but
he's been in bad movies, but has he been bad in them?
No, never. It's just also they're different. There's very young Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Rockford Gardner.
Well, then there's like Hollywood Gardner, like The Great Escape, and this one where he's a leading man. Then there's TV Gardner, Rockford Files, where he's just getting into middle age or out of middle age. And then there's elder statesman actor, and I'm talking the Sally Fields movie, what he got an Oscar nomination for. He got an Oscar nomination for Victor Victoria in a comedy. Have you ever seen Victor Victoria?
No, I have heard of it. I just can't think. I have heard of it.
It's Blake Edwards, Julie Andrews' husband, and also the director of the original Pink Panther movies.
Right.
And was one of the main directors on Peter Gunn, the famous TV series. And he did gangster movies in the 50s and a lot of film noir and TV. But he's a comedic genius. He worked with geniuses. He worked with Peter Sellers. He did the Pink Panther movies are his movies.
Yeah.
They're not. But Victor Victoria, James Garner plays a gangster who falls in love with Julie Andrews' character, who is a down-and-out singer in Paris in the 1920s, who pretends to be a man pretending to be a woman to make a living. Robert Preston from The Music Man and a lot of westerns. He did a lot of westerns. Plays Toady, the gay singer who helps her. And all Blake Edwards comedies are farces, seven-door farces.
Yeah.
And Alec Karras as his bodyguard. Leslie Ann Warren got an Oscar nomination for The Gun Mall. One of the greatest lines of all time. Robert Preston is teaching her how to be a drag queen. They've cut her hair. They've dressed her as a man, and she's pretending to be a man who does drag. And he's teaching her how to do drag, and he just goes, "More arms! Remember, you're a drag queen!" And Alex Karras, it's absolutely... Blake Edwards movies are very simple. There's a lot of double entendre, and there's a lot of pratfalls. There's a lot, and he'll have like secondary characters are just there to get hurt, fall down and get punched, and it's really, really good. But James Garner is such a good movie star, such a good movie star. And I think Jack would watch Holden movies, Mitchum movies, and Gardner movies, because that is that perfect trifecta of that post-war tough man who wants to do right, and where you had different levels of it. James Garner really didn't fuck up his life. Mitchum got busted for weed and straightened out his life, and Holden was just a horrible drunk, poor man.
Yeah.
That he stars in a movie about someone getting drunk and falling off a ladder and dying, called S.O.B., which is another Blake Edwards movie. Basically, a famous director falls and kills himself, and his friends decide to give him a Viking funeral, and they have a party at his house on the beach in Malibu, and it's William Holden. Oh, it's everybody. Loretta Swit plays a version of Pauline Kael, the L.A. critic, the L.A. Times movie critic, and Blake Edwards wrote on purpose. Oh, I wrote her in there as to be Pauline Kael and have the producer punch her in the face. Because I've always wanted to punch Pauline Kael in the face, and I'm not allowed to. She gave him some really bad reviews on some Pink Panther movies and stuff. It's like which made tons of money. I mean, everybody went and saw the Pink Panther movies, because they were just so funny. But SOB is his. And basically you see Julie Andrews' tits. Because basically the thing is he's in the movie Julie Andrews plays a Julie Andrews type character, and the director her last movie's Tank, so they're reworking her current movie from being a kids movie to an adult movie, and there's a musical number at the end where she just tears open her blouse and you see Julie Andrews' tits.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, Blake's like going, I don't care, they're mine. Do you mind, and Julie Andrews was a good sport about it. It's like, yeah, I cast at that. I never got she played some dark characters.
Yeah.
But not often. What is she? The Americanation of Emily with James Garner and her. It's rough. It's very, very rough. So, but yeah, I think Jack would like these two westerns. You picked both of yours would be ones he would watch. So
that was the problem, is because I'm like, okay, Jack is a very Gen X hipster, so I'm like, whereas I'm definitely kind of more I'm definitely a millennial, so it's like, okay, what is my problem with High Flame is like, is this too mainstream for Jack?
No, I think because they're both old enough, and he would like the Forgotten Gems, because Red Son and the two Bronson ones we talked about, I think are Forgotten Gems. I think they're both very good. Mm-hmm. And he made a lot of bad movies, and people made a lot of bad movies in the 70s.
Oh God,
and Westerns is I love Westerns, and I will watch a mediocre Western. I hate a bad Western. But I also have favorites in every era. I like 70s versions. I like spaghetti westerns.
Mm-hmm.
I like the reinvention in Unforgiven is to show it very hyper realistically, and that these are not good people, and none of the people in this movie are by nature good people. They're all people doing what they have to do to get by in a hard place to live. And are we redeemable? I mean, that movie's about redemption. Are we redeemable? Yep. But these 60s ones are great. I watched Hondo the other one time. I watched it.
Yeah.
I watched Rio Lobo, which is is Dean Martin. Jesus Christ, Dean Martin, John Wayne, and the fucking pop singer. I forget which one. One of the young pop singers of the 60s, and he plays a showy gunfighter, young gunfighter, who just sides with the good guys, because he goes, I'm a killer, but I'm not that guy. I'm not going to kill women and children. I'll kill men. But it's a good movie, and I'm a big John Wayne fan. I know he's a piece of shit, but he made really good. But he's a man of his time. Some things he was really bad about, anti-communist, but everyone was terrified, and they were acting like fools. I grew outside D.C. during the Cold War, and people go, what did you think about it? I said, I thought I wasn't going to know if the war happened. I was going to be gone.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm still in the fallout zone.
Oh, no, you're not. It's not even the fallout.
I'm dead.
Yeah, you're dead. Yeah, I lived about 9 miles, and it was like Mount Vernon would be gone, because it's so densely packed. But, they're just different. The way they reinvented westerns, when they made westerns allegories for Vietnam at times.
Yeah, Wild Bunch definitely is heavily Vietnam influenced.
Oh yeah, the end of these guys at the end of the thing. What do we do with them when they have no use of us? That's what that is. There's another one I was thinking about recently, and I'm gonna.
Real quick, I want to recommend two more recent ones. One is Bone Tomahawk with Kurt Russell. That's a disturbing, horror western again.
I hate to say this. It's one of my comfort movies. It's a fucked up. It is a horror movie and a great western. And Matthew Fox as the dandy gunfighter. Who's the guy that was in the dad in the mortuary show on HBO? But he does a lot of stuff. He
6 Feet Under?
Yeah, 6 Feet Under. The ghost dad from 6 Feet Under. He's also, him and Bradley Whitford are running behind the scene in Cabin in the Woods, which is, I think, a masterpiece of horror, where you find out it's all very fucked up government secret. But, no, Bone Tomahawk, I own it. I bought it. I've watched it I put it up there with The Thing. For if I'm going to watch a good horror movie,
that's a good one.
They match, because it's a group of people going after these monsters, and you just don't do that well.
In this one, I haven't watched it since I saw it in the theaters, but Hostels with Christian Bale.
Oh my God! That is one of the best westerns I've seen ever. He's so
Yeah,
good.
you're holding your like a entire family gets massacred in the opening scene, and you're holding your breath for like probably the first half hour because it's that intense.
Yeah. Who's the actress from it? She's so good. She's in Goodbye
Uh,
Girl. Good.
Rosamund Pike.
Rosamund Pike. She's so good. She's good in everything she does. But that's a great movie. And Wes Studi, is it Wes Studi plays the Indian that they're
Uh,
transporting a like Geronimo kind of character up to the reservation, and they have it's the epic journey. Um,
yeah,
it's really good. It's so good.
yeah, it is Wes Studi.
Yeah, it's incredible. The guy that played the older main character on Walking Dead plays this horrible racist at the end of the movie. It's like, you
Yeah.
played such a good guy in Walking Dead when I watched it. But you're so horrible, and you get what you deserve. And Christian Bale's very good in it.
Yeah, and I'm usually not always sold on Christian Bale, but I think in this one he actually pulled it off
I like
really
that
well.
one, and I want to finish watching the Edgar Allan Poe murder mystery that stars him and the kid that played Dursley.
Where that the kid who just slimmed down like there's no tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Patrick Troughton's grandson, actually.
one of his grandsons. Yeah,
One of them.
One of them. His dad. He's not the son of one of the other actors. His two uncles are David Troughton, who's been in Doctor Who, was in Doctor Who in the second Doctor, and his dad. He played a Confederate soldier in his dad's last story.
War Games?
Yeah, he plays.
Yeah.
He plays the young Confederate soldier in that one.
Okay, I'll have to go back and check. Yeah.
He is King Peladon in the first Peladon story, and he is the professor in the one set in the bus.
The David Tennant one?
Yeah, where
Yeah. I can't remember
where the person steals his voice.
the name of it. But
Yeah. He's a big star, TV star, and his brother is another Troughton, and he plays his dad in Big Finish now. Plays second Doctor Matthew. So I think the kid who played Dursley, his dad is the cricketer. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. But yes, he is. He played Dursley, but he's a villain. He was a villain in a movie with Charlize Theron.
He was
Huh?
also in
Okay.
Buster Scruggs, Ballad of Buster
Yeah. Oh.
Scruggs, and that quadriplegic.
Oh yeah, he is in
Speaking
that.
of just other westerns that popped in my head, sorry.
Yeah. No, I love that. The best part of that is Tom Waits. That's a great western.
Yeah.
It is. It's fucked up, but I think it's weird. It's weird. All right. Well, we're gonna move on, and probably
It's going. Yeah.
Yeah. So any recommendations, Kirby?
So I don't know what the order you'll be. I think by the time this episode comes out, we talked about the Mike Grell Green Arrow run.
Yeah.
And it is just a great run of comics. If you like John Sable freelance, you will love this series. The only real costume is the mask, like 20 issues in. Black Mary shows up in hers like a couple of times, and when Hal Jordan does it, they don't even show the ring on him.
Oh, really?
He's Hal Jordan. That's it. Like, yeah, they keep very realistic, like quote unquote realistic throughout. You have Ollie dealing with, the Yakuza. You have a lot of criminals going back and forth from Canada and the border. Ollie goes on a walkabout for about a year's worth of stories, and it's very, like, if you just want Green Arrow fighting a bunch of like costume villains, this is not for you. But if you want like a good like pulp action series, definitely check out Mike Grell's Green Arrow. I think it's been collected in 2 omnibuses.
Yeah, I bought them, folks. I can't wait. I read the beginning of it. I didn't read it. I'm excited. I'm excited about diving into it and doing a big Green Arrow read. I did. I got the complete Jeff Lemire deluxe hardcover with Andrea Sorrentino, somebody does a lot of work with. I'm looking forward to it. And I got the Andy Diggle Jocko year 1, but
Okay.
I got them really cheap. But and the Judd Winnick, Kevin Smith, Phil Hester shit comes out this month or next month in omnibus form. I will buy that. That is one of my favorite Green Arrow runs. I think they both understand his voice, and they also said, let's get away from Grell, the film noir, and make him. He's very much 70s leftist superhero, but he's a superhero. And it's got glorious Phil Hester art, and I think some of Kevin Smith's best comic superhero stuff. And definitely, I'm a big fan of Judge Winnick as a comic book writer. I found a whole set of Barry Ween Boy Genius in the little library by my house. It's absolute childish shit. And if I one day I want to buy them, and I had it, the complete obnoxious. Oh my God, not Krusty the Clown, but he did a comic book about it.
Yeah, I know it's a clown, and it's like
the kid finds a clown, brings
Zippo?
a clown home.
Is it something like that? I'll look it up real quick.
But yeah, it's basically a little kid, instead of bringing a dog home, brings a drunken, bitter old clown home, and he lives in the house with them, and it makes no sense. And it is
Frumpy the Clown.
What is it?
Frumpy the Clown.
Frumpy is a nice way of putting what a prick he is. It was a newspaper strip, and it didn't do well, but it's very providing satire. It's very much Simpsons, but with a Krusty lives in the house. It's a little bit. It's got the sentimentality of Calvin and Hobbes at times. It's very funny. It was only 2 volumes, but it was definitely worth it. And I love Winnick's Exiles, and I loved his Outsiders. He's a good, and his Green Arrow is good. And they're mixing the guests because Phil Hester is the fucking bow that ties it together. And also, is that, I guess, the arc with the return of Stanley's monster.
Oh, okay.
That's the Kevin Smith stuff where Stanley's monster is still around and part of a murder mystery that Green Arrow is solving.
Man.
Dude, I was definitely, the first time I read that, very high, and I thought it was genius. Whoa, hey, Kevin, whatever weed you're smoking, bravo. Bravo. Because it's very weird.
He gets it from Willie Nelson's Private Reserve sometimes.
Yeah, it's great. Have you read that Green Arrow?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. And I've been reading the Golden Age folk, and I recommended that last time. So I got to think my recommendation is going to be a little different. Oh my God, I'm reading so much stuff right now, and I'm jumping around. I have been reading the Golden Age Green Arrow. I bought all of the John stuff. There was so much stuff on half price at the beginning of the year. Like, I got the John's omnibuses all for 50%. And I'm looking forward to it because I haven't read his Flash. I want to reread his Green Lantern because it got really hard. There was so much shit coming out, and reading it, waiting for issues and floppies, it became too much. But to read it in the format and in the order he wants you to read it in the omnis is good. So I'm looking forward to that. I think my recommendation is really going to be, if you haven't ever watched Reacher on Amazon, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. I've never read the Reacher novels. I don't think I'm really going to be my cup of tea. But the actor is the size, Alan Rickson, who is like 4 times the size he was when he played Aquaman in Smallville.
That is him. Oh, wow.
Oh, it's huge.
Put that together.
Also, he went to high school with Matt Gaetz, the piece of shit congressman, and the Reacher stars hero is Bernie Sanders. He's like super liberal like me, and the character's great. He understands it. I like the 2 Tom Cruise movies because I kind of like the idea of the character I'm just wandering around. Except he should be huge. Because there's a lot of the thing about people going, what the fuck are you? And now in this third one, the bad guy's henchman is a bigger dude. but they're really good. The cast is great. The humor is spot on. The actress he always has a new kind of person he's helping out, and it's a Boston DEA agent, and she is just, her catchphrase is in a good Southie accent, "Fuck me." And she says it a couple times, and one time is when he's walking down the deserted road in nothing but his underwear, and she's seen him naked, mostly naked for the first time. Is like, and it's the end of an episode, and she just goes, "Fuck me." But it's a really good show. They've signed it for 2 more seasons, so, and that's odd, especially for Amazon, because they own. They're gonna fuck up Bond. They own it now, and they're in charge.
Oh God, don't get.
And they keep referring to it as content, and it's like, no. Barbara Broccoli and I guess it's Hugh Wilson or whatever. The 2 people have been running it since her dad died, and so she hired Dalton. No, she hired Bronson.
Craig,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, who was after Bronson?
Craig.
Craig. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Craig. I like you've watched the Craig Bond movies in order. They tell a very tightly well told story. Matt Myra he writes for a bunch of cartoons, but he's a podcaster. I followed him on I can't remember the podcast he used to be on, but he is a big Bond. He did a Bond one with a buddy of his, and they talk about, if you watch Casino Royale and Quantum whatever
of Solace
as one movie with an intermission, it makes sense. Quantum of Solace makes sense because it's the story of that first woman. But you got to kind of watch them back to back.
Because otherwise, Quantum of Solace is honestly, I would say, one of the worst Bond movies.
I don't think there's a lot of.
I can deal with the goofy Roger Moore ones more than I can deal with Quantum of Solace.
It's them trying to do by the number. I did watch it back to back like one afternoon, and it is the same story. It is the second 2 acts of a 4-act story. The first 2 acts are just so much better. And the intermission break ending where she's dead, yeah, it makes sense. But I like the rest of them, and I like how it ends. I think they really tell the fact of that all the people in the business Bond is in are terrible.
Yeah.
Because that's what their job is, to take care of. Our terrible people are going to kill your terrible people, so less terrible things happen. It's the necessary evil of spies and stuff like that. And I like Craig's version because he's a bastard. They don't polish it. I don't think he's womanizing, and women find him sexy and then realize, you've just used me. And he goes, yeah, I'm a fucking spy. It was either you're going to honey trap me or I'm going to honey trap you. I'm just better at it. So, but all right. So that'll be my recommendation. Thank you as ever, Kirby. I think there's some stuff I want to talk to you about offline about getting you on to do in the future, because I'm going to start doing stuff a little more pre-planned, and I'll do less, but just plan it out a little bit better. So, okay. Folks, as always, be safe, be smart. Please be kind to one another in these crazy mixed-up world, and read some comics. Read some Jonah Hex.